Let's get right into it. Number 7. The Bermuda Triangle's rogue waves. So you know how ships keep disappearing in the Bermuda Triangle? Turns out it wasn't aliens, portals, or sea monsters. It's something way scarier. Rogue waves that can reach up to 100 feet high. Imagine you're sailing along, everything's fine, then suddenly a wall of water taller than a 10-story building shows up uninvited. That's like being hit by a liquid skyscraper. These waves form when different storm systems meet up. The Bermuda Triangle is basically nature's mosh pit. You've got storms coming in from all directions, and sometimes they decide to team up. When their waves combine, they don't just add up, they multiply. So two 30-foot waves don't make a 60-foot wave. They make something that would make Poseidon himself say, "Okay, that's a bit much." And here's the really messed up part. These waves only last for a minute or two, just long enough to snap a ship in half like a toothpick, then disappear without a trace. That's why ships disappear without even sending a distress signal. 1 second you're enjoying your cruise, the next second you're underwater. So next time someone tells you the Bermuda Triangle is haunted, tell them they're right. It's haunted by physics. Number 6. The Lost Colony of Roanoke. So you know that spooky story about an entire colony of English settlers vanishing into thin air? They left behind just one word carved into a post: Croatoan. For centuries, this mystery drove people crazy. Where did 115 people just disappear to? Did they get kidnapped? Did they starve? Did something worse happen? Turns out they didn't exactly disappear. They just got really good at making new friends. Scientists found a bunch of their stuff about 50 miles inland, mixed in with Native American artifacts. We're talking full-on pottery collections, copper rings, and other European goodies all mixed up with Native American stuff. These people were clearly living together. Instead of mysteriously vanishing, these colonists basically did what every college graduate does. They moved inland where the rent was cheaper. Think about it. You're stuck in a new land, your supplies are running low, and the locals seem to know what they're doing. What would you do? You'd probably ask for help, right? These colonists chose survival. They moved inland, started hanging out with the local tribes, and probably learned that their fancy English manners weren't much use in the American wilderness. Can't eat proper table settings when you're starving. The colonists didn't vanish. They just went native. The real mystery isn't where they went. It's why it took us 400 years to check 50 miles inland. Number 5. The Tunguska Event's Cosmic Airburst. Picture this. You're a farmer in Siberia, 1908. You're milking your cow when suddenly the sky explodes. Not just a little boom. We're talking about something with the force of 1,000 nuclear bombs. The blast was so powerful it flattened 2,000 square kilometers of forest. That's an area about the size of Houston, Texas. Trees got knocked down in a perfect circle, all pointing away from the center like someone had dropped the world's biggest bowling ball. Windows shattered hundreds of miles away. People got thrown off their feet. The sky glowed for days. But here's the weird part. There was no crater. Nothing. It's like the universe pulled the ultimate hit and run. For over a century, people came up with all sorts of wild theories. Some said it was aliens testing weapons. Others blamed Tesla's death ray experiments. One guy even suggested it was a black hole passing through Earth. But now, thanks to some fancy supercomputer simulations, we finally know what really went down. Turns out it was just a tiny 200-foot asteroid having the worst day of its life. This space rock was cruising along, minding its own business, when Earth got in the way. But instead of hitting the ground, this one basically threw a tantrum. About 5 miles up, it hit the thick part of our atmosphere and exploded. This thing turned into what scientists call a fireball, basically a giant blob of superheated gas moving faster than sound. Instead of hitting the ground and leaving a crater, this thing basically turned into a giant blowtorch pointed at the forest. The trees got knocked over like bowling pins at a giant's bowling alley. And because it exploded high up, there was no crater, just a massive wave of destruction that wiped out everything below. Number 4. The Copper Scroll Treasure. Imagine finding an ancient treasure map made of metal instead of paper. That's exactly what archaeologists found in a cave near the Dead Sea. This wasn't your typical treasure map drawn with X marks the spot. It was a detailed list of 64 locations carved into sheets of copper. The scroll describes massive amounts of gold and silver, like enough to make Jeff Bezos look poor. For decades, this scroll was just another ancient mystery. People thought it was fantasy, like ancient fan fiction about imaginary treasure. But who writes a treasure map on expensive copper if the treasure isn't real? Well, recently, scientists got clever. They used special X-ray machines to study the copper itself. Turns out the way the metal corroded over time is like a fingerprint. It can tell you exactly where that metal came from, And this copper came from mines that were only used during a very specific time period, the exact time when the Temple of Jerusalem was destroyed. Then archaeologists started digging in these areas. They found ancient pottery and coins from the right time period in those areas. The scroll might actually be listing the lost treasures from the ancient Temple of Jerusalem. When the Romans were coming to destroy the temple, the priests probably hid all their gold and silver. Then they made this copper map, so future generations could find it. Number 3. The Beale Ciphers hoax. Imagine finding a mysterious set of codes that supposedly lead to buried treasure worth millions. That's exactly what happened with the Beale ciphers, 3 encrypted texts that had treasure hunters going crazy for almost 200 years. The story goes that this guy, Thomas Beale, buried a massive fortune of gold and jewels somewhere in Virginia. We're talking about tons of gold, thousands of pounds of silver, and jewels worth a fortune. He then wrote 3 secret codes explaining where to find it. Only one of these codes was ever cracked. Using the Declaration of Independence as a key, it described the treasure in detail. The other 2 remained unsolved, driving people absolutely nuts. People spent their entire lives trying to crack these codes. They quit their jobs, abandoned their families, went bankrupt buying land to dig up. Some people literally went insane trying to solve it. But modern computers just exposed this whole thing as an elaborate scam. Scientists ran these codes through some fancy algorithms, looking at how the numbers in them were arranged. They analyzed word patterns, number frequencies, all sorts of nerdy stuff. Turns out these secret codes matched writing patterns from popular books in the 1800s. It's like finding out your friend's original song is actually just Taylor Swift lyrics run through Google Translate. The codes were too perfect. Real codes have mistakes, weird patterns, human errors. These were crafted to look mysterious but unsolvable. Someone spent serious time making sure these codes would drive people crazy forever. So basically, some clever con artist in the 1800s created this whole treasure story just to mess with people. Maybe they were selling pamphlets about it. Maybe they just enjoyed watching people dig holes. Number 2. The Franklin Expedition. In 1845, 129 men set sail to explore the Arctic. They had 2 massive ships packed with the latest technology of the time. Steam engines, heating systems, libraries, even a piano. They brought enough food for 3 years. None of them made it back alive. For years, people thought they just froze to death or starved. The Arctic is brutal, after all. Ships get stuck in ice, food runs out, people die. That's just how it goes. But scientists recently found something way creepier when they dug up some of the crew's preserved bodies. The Arctic cold had kept these bodies in perfect condition, and when they tested them, they found something horrifying. These guys had enough lead in their system to kill a horse. We're talking 20 times more lead than normal. Their fancy high-tech canned food was slowly poisoning them. The seams of these cans were sealed with lead, and it was leaching into their food. So every time these guys sat down for dinner, they were basically eating poison. Being poisoned with lead doesn't just make you sick, it messes with your head. You get confused, paranoid, aggressive. You make terrible decisions. You see things that aren't there. These sailors started going crazy. They abandoned perfectly good ships. They dragged heavy boats across the ice instead of useful supplies. They brought silverware and books instead of food. The officers got it worst because they ate more of the fancy canned food. Regular sailors ate salt pork and hardtack. Officers got the good stuff, the canned meats and vegetables. So the people in charge of keeping everyone alive were literally going insane. Things got so bad that when they finally found some of the bodies, they found evidence of cannibalism. Cut marks on bones, skulls cracked open to get at the brains. These proper British sailors ended up eating each other. Number 1. Jack the Ripper's identity through DNA. For over 100 years, Jack the Ripper was the ultimate unsolved mystery. 5 women brutally murdered in London's Whitechapel district. The killer taunted police with letters. He removed organs with surgical precision. Then he vanished without a trace. Everyone had a theory. Some said he was a doctor. Others thought he was royalty, maybe even connected to the Queen. People wrote thousands of books, made hundreds of movies. The mystery drove people crazy. But then scientists got their hands on something interesting. A silk shawl. This wasn't just any old piece of cloth. It was found near one of Jack's victims, Catherine Eddowes, and it was covered in evidence, blood and other stains that had been preserved for over a century. Scientists found mitochondrial DNA on this shawl. That's a special kind that only passes from mother to child, making it perfect for tracing family lines. They compared this DNA to people living today who are related to the victim and to one of the main suspects, a Polish barber named Aaron Kosminski, and the results pointed towards Kosminski's relatives. This guy was actually one of the main suspects back in the day. Police were watching him. He worked as a barber in Whitechapel, right where all the murders happened, which means he was pretty handy with sharp objects. He knew how to use a blade. He knew anatomy from shaving faces every day. The guy eventually ended up in a mental institution. Records show he heard voices, ate trash from the gutter, and had violent episodes. Classic serial killer stuff. The guy who gave you a shave in the morning might have been hunting women at night. Sometimes the scariest monsters are the ones hiding in plain sight. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.